Hey everybody, the Super Vader 400 here. This is my salute of two of my all-time favorite mixed martial arts slash fighting games, and that is the Pride Fighting Championships, which was released in 2003 and is based on the legendary Pride Fighting Championships organization started up by professional wrestler Nobuhiko Takeda, and of course the very popular UFC, and then of course UFC Sudden Impact, which of course is based on the very popular and mainstream UFC, which and this game was released in 2004. This game features Phil Baroni and the late Mask and the late Punk Mask, something like that. I keep forget Punk Ass, something like that. Being need. This of course features Takeda and Renzo Gracie fighting, and on the back you can see Ken Shamrock and Don Fry and screenshots of all the other characters and how the gameplay is. The back of this, of course, has the poster boys of the UFC at that time, Tito Ortiz, and Chuck Liddell, and of course, gameplay. Of course, I don't care about MMA anymore. I like the fighting style, and I like several organizations now, such as Bellator and ONE FC. Because they're free, and also enjoy IFCF MMA. Well, they and King of the Cage, but they're not on TV where I am. But I've seen stuff of theirs on YouTube, and both of those promotions are good for up and coming fighters such as myself. I still like to practice MMA as a fighting style, and still watch it occasionally when one of my favorite fighters from my childhood is on, and when it's free, like in Bellator. I do not like or watch the UFC anymore. The only thing I care about with UFC is CM Punk. They have a couple of fighters I like, but I'm not tuning into that garbage anymore. But I still love the video games. Playing an MMA video game, and I guess fighting an MMA fight is more interesting than watching one. Both of these fighting games, when I played them for the first time, had to be, alongside Tekken and Virtua Fighter, had to be the most realistic, in-depth fighting engines of all time. Let's start off with the Pride FC. This is the first game I heard of. I saw this game advertised by THQ in commercials back in, I think it was 2003. It was 2002 or 3. I think it was 2003. And yeah, it was 2003 because that's when the game was released. I don't remember it, but it was one of those years, 2002 or 2003. I finally got the game in 2004 for Christmas, and this game right here was awesome. The graphics, the gameplay, and the in-depth, realistic fighting game engine. This was like a realistic version of Tekken, Virtua Fighter, Street Fighter, and the various professional wrestling games, only toned down and made more realistic, but still has a cool arcade style. This had brawling, boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, submission holds, all that stuff, all of that awesome stuff, and several signature moves like suplexes, Boston crabs, single leg crabs, different kind of kicks, special kind of punches. This right here was an awesome game. Each fighter, for the most part, the same fighting style, but they were unique in their signature moves, which is one of the things that made Pride, watching the real Pride back in the day, awesome. And the roster on this game. First of all, you got Kazushi, the IQ wrestler Kazushi Sakuraba, widely considered one of the best MMA and professional wrestlers of all time, and the Gracie Hunter, the guy who dethroned the Gracies, proved that the Gracies weren't all that. Then you got Vanderlei Silva, the Axe Murderer, the deadly Muay Thai fighter from the Shootbox Academy, the devastating Muay Thai brawler from the Shootbox Academy. Then you got Nobuhiko Takeda, the guy who trained Kazushi Sakuraba and started the Takeda Dojo and founded the Pride Fighting Championships. Then you got Don Fry, who looks like Mike Hager, the ground and pound wrestler. MMA legend King Shamrock is in this game. Alexander Oxka, an actual professional wrestler. I'm talking about a guy doing drop kicks and and vertical and fisherman suplexes. Daijiro Matsui, another guy, another professional wrestler who fought from the Takeda Dojo. Once again, who is lightning fast and wow, having a poor MMA record, was a highly exciting fighter and also does a lot of drop kicks. You got Big Daddy Gary Goobridge and Igor Vovchanchyn, two of the biggest heavy hitters in the game next to Vanderlei Silva. You got Murillo Rua from another awesome Muay Thai fighter from the Shootbox Academy, but not as quite as aggressive and as devastating as Vanderlei Silva. You got Ensign Inuk, the shoot fighter. You got Tom Erickson, another wrestler. You got another amateur wrestler, Tom Erickson. You got oh yes, Carlos Newton, who is I keep forgetting what his fighting style was, but he was also a highly fast-paced, exciting fighter, and he was also known for his showmanship. When he wins a match, he would do a Kamehameha. He would do a Kamehameha, and oh yes, one of the guys who I consider to be one of the first heels, the bad guys in Pride FC. You got Gilbert Ivel, the kickboxer who was widely known as a dirty fighter, the guy who just doesn't take it seriously. Then you got the legendary Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira brothers. Then of course you got Heath Herring, devastating Sambo fighter. You got Simi Shield. I really don't like Simi Shield anymore, but I was a huge fan of him when I was young because of his large size. Devastating karate fighter. Who else is in this game? Of course, Royce and Renzo Gracie. The Gracies are in this game, and these guys make it unique because both of these guys, well, Renzo takes his off before the fight, but Royce wears the one of the main fighters to wear a gi, which makes it look like a realistic video game, like Street Fighter or something. So like I said, this game, oh yes, and also Akira Shoji, a guy who's like a samurai wearing samurai kimonos out to the ring before he fights. See, like I said, this game is awesome, and of course that's the roster. The gameplay modes are cool. You got single action. You got normal single player mode, which is where you got normal versus mode where you pick where normal versus mode. Then you got survival mode where you fight until you lose. Then of course you got create a fighter. Then of course you got my favorite mode in the game. You got Grand Prix mode. The only downside is there's no career or really real championship mode or really unlockable content in this game. That's the only downside to this awesome video game. No real unlockable content, but the Grand Prix mode is awesome. It's a huge fighting tournament where they show the entrances of the fighter and some cool highlight of the fighter's entrance, of the fighter's real life entrance, one of the fighter's real life entrance, and highlights of the fighter in action in real life. Then of course you get the CGI entrance. Then of course you get an introduction. Then of course during the CGI you get an introduction from Linda Hart, the famous female announcer who called out the fighters' names, and of course, you get an introduction from Takeda. Then, of course, before the fight starts, you get another introduction. Then the referee explains the rules: no hitting and no hitting, no hitting in the groin. It's hilarious and awesome in real life, and just like the real life thing, just like the real life thing. And then he separates both men, go to a corner, they come out swinging. The ring is awesome, the graphics are awesome, and the punches and kicks are more devastating than any other than any are more devastating than any than the punches and kicks in this game are more devastating than any punch in any other MMA game I've ever seen, man. Like I said, awesome game. Like I said, downsides to this awesome video game is that they don't have not a lot of unlockable content, no Fedor Emelianenko, no Quentin Rampage Jackson, and the sequel that had all those fighters, which was distributed by Capcom, was not released here in America. Because this promotion, Pride FC, was awesome, man. Was awesome, and I wish they add more. According, there's some Pride FC in the newer UFC games, but I wanted another game with more, another game just like this with more content. All right. Well, here comes the next one right now. Now the next one is UFC Sudden Impact. This game came out in 2004. I also, when did I get this game? I can't remember. Did I get this game for Christmas 2004? Did I get it in early 2005? I got it one of those years. But anyway, this game right here is awesome. First of all, you got so many fighters, over 35 fighters, man, over 35 fighters with of course you got 35 fighters with 16 of the fighters being hidden before I get to that, I'm going to start off with the basics. First of all, this game already gets me hyped when it comes on, just like Pride FC. Pride FC, when you turn the video game on, you get an awesome highlight. You get an awesome highlight of all the fast-paced, exciting action from back when the UFC was good. You get an awesome non-lyrical version of the Ultimate Fighter theme. You're gonna get hit. You're gonna get knocked out. This is the ultimate. You're gonna feel it. You're gonna get hit. This is the ultimate. It's just awesome. It's just awesome. It really gets you hyped to play the game. They show highlights from the real UFC, and then of course you play the Then of course when the star menu comes on, it plays the the fight thing that happens before the UFC fight. Begins. Then of course you press start. Then of course awesome modes. You got an arcade mode where you can pick you got an arcade mode where you pick one fighter. You go through lots of fighters. You can even unlock a couple of fighters in this mode. Next is season mode, which I haven't really played much of. You create a fighter, you compete in a season mode. You compete in a career like mode, just like in professional wrestling. Then of course you got what else you got in this video game? You got championship rule where for each weight class you compete. You face a slew of fighters before you get to a championship, and by winning a championship, you unlock other fighters in the game, which I'm going to get to in a minute when I talk about the roster. Then of course you got favorite tournament mode. You got tournament mode where you can pick any fighter and fight in an awesome tournament. You can also unlock other characters and, more importantly, moves in this mode. You can also unlock moves in this mode. Next, speaking of moves, next is the before I get to the moves, when you pick a fighter, you get some awesome unknown entrance music for each fighter. Um, Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell, Vitor Belfort, Ken Shamrock, and Bas Rutten have some of the most, and Renato Sabral have some of the most awesome fighting themes I've ever seen. Have some of the most awesome fighting themes I've ever heard. I really wish I could find the soundtrack to this game and see what these themes were, but I can't find it anywhere. Not even on Wikipedia. Not even on Wikipedia. Then of course, so you got awesome entrances. Now let's get to the gameplay. Gameplay is phenomenal. Gameplay is phenomenal. You have several different styles in this game. You have boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, several different special maneuvers for each fighter, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, ground game, and then you even have some football maneuvers in this game. Like you can run and tackle a person like a football player, You can throw people against the throw people against the cage, then knock them out with a quick punch combo. When you get people on the ground, you can punch them on the ground, or you can put them in a submission hold, or you can come over into a pinning position and kick him and knee him in the head. Like I said, the some characters have their own special move for when they're on the ground, but you got to be careful, because if you're not careful, the guy can catch you in a submission hold. The fighting in both of these is really realistic and tricky. It's really realistic and tricky and true to what real life MMA is. If you're not careful, you can get caught in a submission hold, or in another compromising position, like being on your back, which is the worst. But being on your stomach with your back turned to the guy, which is the worst position you could be in an MMA fight, because that leaves your back and head at the mercy of the guy. He can punch you to death or rear naked choke you and submit you like that. So awesome. So yes, awesome in-depth fight engine. Awesome in-depth fight engine. You also have create a player. Now let's get to the roster. Roster is awesome. Of course, you got the poster boys of the UFC. You got Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, Ken Shamrock, Vitor Belfort, Pedro Hizo, BJ Penn, Robbie Lawler, Matt Serra, Kyle Uno, Pete Spratt, Dwayne Ludwig, Eugene Jackson, David Monet, Phil Baroni, Renato Sabaral, Elvis Sinek, Frank Shamrock, Gary Goobridge, Toyoshi Koshaka, Tim Sylvia, Rico Rodriguez, Andre Orlovsky, now for all the hidden characters. First of all, starting off with one of my favorite hidden characters in the game, Bas Rutten, James Pulver, Jeremy Horn, who I've not unlocked yet, who's the only character I haven't unlocked yet. Who else? Maurice Smith, Murillo Bassamite, something like that. I keep forgetting. I can't pronounce his last name. Big John McCartney is an unlockable character in this game. The late Punk Ass, who I think, yeah, his name's Mask, not Punk Ass. Punk Ass is someone else. Mask, who I haven't unlocked yet. Dana White, who I haven't unlocked yet. I'd love to unlock him so I can beat his butt. But yeah, Big John McCartney's a what you call his game, and a sparring female fighter is also an unlockable character in this video game. So like I said, you have an Mark Coleman, Petey Williams, so like I said, so many awesome fighters, and The gameplay is hard. The gameplay is easy to pick up, but it's definitely hard to master. Same goes with Pride FC. Pride FC had no unlockables. Pride FC, but this game does. Like I said, I've unlocked everything except the three characters I mentioned: Dana White, Mask, and who's the other guy I forgot to unlock? And that was Jeremy Horn, who he's in the middleweight division, which is hard to beat, which I've beat 2 times, but I don't know how you unlock Jeremy Horn. I unlocked Jens Pulver accidentally by I think beating him in an arcade or tournament mode. But like I said, man, this game right here is awesome. And it's underrated too. It was given negative reception, and most UFC fans, while it has its fans and has its following, most UFC fans look down on it and are more into the undisputed EA Sports MMA series. But I like this. I like this much more. Much better punching power. Not the punching power of this game. Not the punching and striking power of this video game, Pride FC, but much better striking power in video games. And in my opinion, while I like a lot of the wrestling games today and the MMA games today do look cool, the wrestling and MMA games of this period were much better, man. Were much better. The gameplay and stuff. The graphics are better now, but the gameplay in these games were 1,000 times better than what we have today. And both of these games, in my opinion, were criminally underrated. Pride FC was awesome, but it was overlooked, and the sequel never got released here. The sequel never got released here. It's a damn shame because the sequel had Rampage and Fedor and Malenko. UFC Sudden Impact. There's a better version of this game called UFC Throwdown. I've seen that game. I've never played it, but it looks real awesome. I always thought the early UFC games were the best, particularly this Throwdown, Sudden Impact, and the Dreamcast UFC game. The PlayStation wasn't that good, but that was a good start to, in my opinion, a video game franchise for the UFC. Well, like I said, this was my salute of 2 of the most underrated, most realistic, in-depth fighting games of all time, and that was Pride FC and UFC. All right, Doug out.